patriotic Nigerian and a man after my heart.
He was very, very smart, and politically he was very bright.
He loves the country more than he loves himself.
He's a consensus man. He would listen to all the views, positive and negative views, before making his decisions.
We were lucky to have gotten General Abdulsalam at the time we got him.
He is what you can describe as the father of the current democracy.
A democrat in uniform.
A man of integrity, somebody who makes a promise and fulfills it.
General Abdulsalam is a walking book. It's a summary of his own life and his own self.
There is a lot to learn from his life.
At a moment when Nigeria stood on the edge of uncertainty, following the sudden demise of General Sani Abacha in June 1998, Abdulsalami emerged as a stabilizing figure. Calm, understated and disciplined, he assumed leadership of a nation weighed down by political tension, international isolation, and widespread distrust of military rule. Within 11 months, he achieved what many Nigerians had begun to doubt was possible: a peaceful transition from military rule to democratic governance. Abdulsalami Abubakar was born on June 13, 1942 in Minna, present-day Niger State. Raised in a modest family, he attended Minna Native Authority Primary School and later the famous provincial secondary school, Bidda, where he received his secondary education. He graduated as a member of one of the most distinguished classes in the institution's history, alongside notable classmates including former Nigerian military president General Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, Major General Garuba Duba, Major General Gado Nasco, and Major General Muhammadu Magoro.
We grew up together. Our parents were very, very good friends, and I have always remained very grateful to his father, who took me as his own son after the death of my father. They were quite close, and he took a number of responsibilities on my behalf, or on behalf of my father. This I will never forget. So I see Abdulsalami Abubakar as my personal brother, with whom we grew up together. We went to the same elementary school, same primary school, same secondary school, then same service.
Abdulsalami's path to prominence was forged through the military. However, this was not his original plan, as he had enrolled at the Kaduna Technical Institute to study civil engineering.
The then Minister of Defense for the Army, one Alhaji Ibrahim Takogaladima Obida, or Obida man, he visited our school with one smart captain. That captain turned out later to be later General Gawan, and of course introduced us to the army and made us to believe the good life in the army, not to encourage us.
He enlisted into the Nigerian military June 1963 as officer cadet and was commissioned second lieutenant in the Nigerian Army and posted to the Infantry Corps, a movement that marked the beginning of his distinguished career in the Nigerian Army. He served with quiet, unglamorous distinction during the difficult years of the Nigerian Civil War, commanding men through some of the most complex operational landscapes the country had ever faced. He commanded formations across the country, and also led Nigeria's contingent in the United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, demonstrating competence in international peacekeeping operations, earned through operational competence and professional reliability. By 1997, his long record of steady professionalism led him to the apex of uniformed service, Chief of Defense Staff. By the early 90s, Nigeria was experiencing one of the most turbulent periods in its post-independence history. The annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election had triggered widespread political unrest. Opposition figures were in detention or exile, while relations between Nigeria and much of the international community had deteriorated. Then came the unexpected. On June 8, 1998, General Sani Abacha died suddenly.
Usually, when he's either in Lagos or Abuja, by about 7 o'clock, he calls in the morning. By about that period, he calls in the morning, and we'll talk. On that particular day, he didn't call, so I called. Then I was told that he had gone that was about 7:30 or so, and I was told that he had gone to the villa for a meeting. It was odd, that what kind of meeting are they having so early? But then I just took it off my mind until about 12. Around that time he called, and then it was then he broke the news that General Abacha had died.
The unexpected loss left an immediate power vacuum at the highest level of state, creating a moment of intense anxiety and profound uncertainty for the future of the Republic. Against that backdrop, the Provisional Ruling Council selected Abdulsalami Abubakar as head of state. He was sworn in on June 9, 1998.
After the death of Abacha, there had been a lot of consultation among the top military hierarchy at that time, and there are quite a number of them who were senior officers at that time. And General Abubakar was the Chief of Defense Staff, which means professionally he is the most senior amongst all the other officers. So naturally he becomes the obvious choice of becoming the head of state, or because he was the most senior professional soldier. For us in the armed forces, it wasn't a surprise at all, because that is the right thing to do.
In a situation of such confusion, such uncertainty, he did not rush out. He maintained his cool, he maintained calm, and he brought the situation under control until he was formally announced and presented as the Nigerian head of state.
We sat down in the chambers, and I think the general himself, General Abdulsalami Abubakar, was also sharing papers for people to nominate who the head of state would be. So I decided, when these papers get to me, I will stop it. And as soon as they got to me, I got up. It is recorded. I'm happy that someone took the minutes. I got up and I said, well, gentlemen, we have all agreed that General Abdulsalami Abubakar is the head of state, and he is hereby promoted as a 4-star general. Nobody argued. Nobody said anything. And that was it. And I got up, went around and came there to salute him as a head of state. And many officers followed. Abdulsalam never got involved, saying he wanted to be head of state.
In the first transition, the elections were followed by intense controversy between Awolowo, late Chief Obafemi Awolowo, and President Shehu Shagari. But General Abdulsalami Abubakar was able to avoid that by his leadership and his conduct of the transition.
His emergence was greeted with cautious optimism. Nigerians had heard promises of transition before. This time, however, events would unfold differently. Within days of assuming office, Abdulsalami announced a transition program and pledged to return the country to civilian rule within a year. Many doubted the promise. He dismantled Abacha's political transition arrangement, lifted restrictions on political activities, and initiated a fresh democratic process. Political prisoners were released, including prominent figures detained during the Abacha era. The atmosphere of fear that had characterized the period gradually eased. Most importantly, he set a clear deadline and kept to it.
I think he was very, very smart, and politically he was very bright. He took the right decision. The decision conforms with what the learning and aspiration of the Nigerian society at that time. I think, I can't remember, maybe 9 months or 8 months after taking from Abacha, that is what happened. And I think I must commend him that he has handled the transition very well, to the benefit of the country and to the pleasure of the politicians who want to take over.
Unfortunately, we, the elite class, are unprincipled. We would have found a way of embedding ourselves into him, telling him it's the best thing that has ever happened to us, and that he should stay there for life. That's what they did with Abacha, right? That's what they did with Babangida.
If the wrong person had taken over, or an ambitious person has taken over, one, there could have been delay in the handing over, and the frustration of Nigeria will have been exacerbated, and many things could have happened.
We understand that even those who recommended to him a transitional period were recommending a period of about 24 months, about 2 years.
I belong to some of those who believe that he should have a fairly long transition program, so that he could really get the country back on the rails peacefully and effectively transition from military to civil administration.
A man who appreciates that his emergence was the work of God. So naturally, that inspired him to hand over the responsibility to God, to guide his thoughts, his words, and his actions.
Somebody who loves the country more than he loves himself will not want to perpetuate himself in office. He believed in Nigeria, and he believed in the future of Nigeria. And he believed that that's the best thing to do, to bring unity to the country. And he did just that.
When I came out, he was keeping constantly with me on how to get MKO Abiola released. And he said, left to him alone, but it has to be a military. It is in the process of getting the military as a whole that Abiola died, and I know how painful it was to him. So I found him an officer and a gentleman, a patriotic Nigerian, and a man after my heart.
One of the most enduring legacies of the Abdulsalami administration was the establishment of the Independent National Electoral Commission and the promulgation of the 1999 Constitution, which became the legal framework for Nigeria's return to democratic governance. Though the document continues to attract debate and calls for reform, it provided the constitutional foundation for the longest uninterrupted democratic period in Nigeria's history.
Yes, it fixed a credible transition timetable. The May 29th, 1999 handover date was announced early and strictly adhered to, which restored domestic and international confidence. Secondly, there was the institutional neutrality in the transition progress. The electoral umpire was allowed to operate with relative independence, enabling the registration of political parties and the conduct of elections without overt interference. Thirdly, General Abdulsalami Abubakar prioritized national stability over personal tenure by subordinating personal and institutional ambition to the larger goal of returning Nigeria to constitutional governance.
That despite the initial agreement to register 2 political parties, he bent over backwards to register what then became the AD, the Alliance for Democracy, which was the party which now housed the pro-democracy activists, from NADECO at the time. If he had not done so, it would have that would have delegitimized the entire transition process at the time, because these were the individuals who were, if you like, the custodians of the pro-democracy struggle.
It was a great thing for him to have now registered AD, which again now made him to gain the confidence of the political class, and his decision not to alter the date of his departure was the saving grace that didn't make ambitious military men to be plotting a change of government.
On May 29, 1999, less than 1 year after assuming office, he handed power to elected President Olusegun Obasanjo, bringing military rule to an end and ushering in Nigeria's 4th Republic.
This historic act ended decades of intermittent military rule and restored Nigeria's standing in the international community.
The media came to see him as someone who, against all expectations, kept to his word, and was really, like I said earlier, someone who believed in democracy even as he wore the military uniform.
People need to understand the past so that they can prepare for the future, and this is exactly what's going to do. He has been in so many places, he has seen so many things, and I'm sure I haven't read the book yet, but I can tell you he's somebody who is going to see it as it is.
If he had not been a statesman, if he had not been an honorable man, if he had not been a patriot, if he had been power hungry, maybe I wouldn't be what I am today. But he kept faith with Nigeria, and I see him as part of my foundation.
Retirement did not remove Abdulsalami from national service. Over the years, he has become one of Nigeria's most respected voices on peace, dialogue, and democratic stability. Through the National Peace Committee, he has mediated during periods of political tension and helped secure commitments from political actors to peaceful conduct before elections. His interventions have often contributed to reducing tensions and strengthening democratic processes. His service extended across Africa through peace and mediation missions in Sudan, Liberia, and the Niger Republic, as well as the Congolese dialogue, all under the auspices of the African Union, the United Nations, and ECOWAS. His contributions to conflict resolution strengthened stability in troubled regions and reinforced his standing as a statesman whose influence reached far beyond Nigeria.
At least everywhere we've gone to in Nigeria, I've seen the appreciation in the eyes of the participants and so on. Of course, we can afford the luxury of journalists and other quote-unquote experts who from the comforts of their beds and their bedrooms and their chairs can say, oh, the peace committee is this, that, or the other. But I know that without him, our story would have been completely different, and to a great extent, the story of democracy would have been different.
With benefit of hindsight, much later I came to know that they did their best after the declaration or preceding the declaration of results and the evident turmoil that was about to erupt. They were able to do a commendable job in terms of calming nerves and ensuring that the results were accepted after a credible election.
I look at us in Nigeria today, and I look at all the other countries who have then had all sorts of coups and so on and so forth, and yet we have maintained our democratic status. And I believe he has had a contributory, his efforts have had a contributory effect to it.
In recognition of his pivotal role in Nigeria's peaceful transition to democratic governance and his continued contributions to conflict resolution and peace building across Africa, some commentators have argued that General Abdulsalami Abubakar be considered for the Nobel Peace Prize.
We were lucky to have gotten General Abdulsalam at the time we got him. I think when the history of democracy is written in this country, there is no way you cannot give him, a gold medal.
Because in other climes, those who receive Nobel Peace Prize wouldn't have done the enormity of the kind of peace work that General Abdulsalam has done for our dear country and the entire African continent. He has earned his respect for his works in this arena, and that is why his name evokes confidence, belief, and integrity.
To be a Nigerian is a blessing. You've spoken about people who were born here, people who have led this country, people who have achieved, different heights in their lives, in their career. So to be a Nigerian is something of pride, and we're elated, as humble at the same time, as Nigerians to have produced such number of leaders.
His stature today rests less on the offices he occupied than in the trust he commands. The story of General Abdulsalami Abubakar is not his alone to tell. It is also found in the recollections of family, friends, colleagues, and countless Nigerians whose lives have intersected with his. Their memories and reflections offer a richer portrait of the man behind the uniform, the office, and the national acclaim.
He's somebody that you can turn to. You can go and speak to him, you can go and discuss with him, he will guide you, he will direct you. He has always been there. Let me put it, he has always been there for guidance. So that's the sort of father he is.
When I was in the military, he was like a mentor to me, an icon by excellence. General Abubakar, we know him to be a very peace-loving general. in the army.
He's a very, very accommodating family man with all his relations, friends and all. And all of us that are Fati's friends, we became part of the family.
So different from other army generals or army officers. He is simple and very accommodating.
Alongside General Abdulsalami Abubakar's leadership was a partner committed to social impact. Justice Fati Lami Abubakar, as First Lady of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, championed the welfare and protection of women through the Women's Rights Advancement and Protection Alternative, RAPA. The initiative promoted inclusion and advanced the rights of women across communities without distinction of religion or ethnicity, earning recognition for its contribution to social development and national progress. As Abdulsalami approaches his 84th birthday and prepares to unveil his memoirs, the moment offers an opportunity to reflect in a life intertwined with Nigeria's modern history.
What we are doing, celebrating General Abdulsalami, having this documented, is such a good thing to do, and it encourages others to live a good life so that legacy, posterity will also remember them.
We learn daily. Nobody is a fountain of knowledge. We learn every day. People will learn a lot by reading his memoirs.
How committed this gentleman is to Nigeria and Nigerians. How concerned he is to Nigeria and Nigerians. He will never see anything without making a positive comment on it. He is always correcting and setting things straight.
Image outside projects what he is inside. But of course, when you say as a soldier, with the soldiers, he will behave like a soldier. But I think he behaves like a soldier, a disciplined soldier, a soldier with compassion. And the same way at home, he is the master of the house. He is also the considerate husband. He is the loving but strict father.
History often remembers leaders for the power they acquired. Abdulsalami Abubakar is remembered for the power he surrendered. His tenure was brief, yet consequential. At a time when Nigeria desperately needed certainty, he offered a clear direction. At a moment when military rule seemed entrenched, he chose democratic transition. More than 2 decades after leaving power, the foundations he helped lay continue to support Nigeria's democratic journey. That, perhaps, is the true measure of his legacy.